All right, welcome back to Zalt of the Earth podcast. This week we've got a few fun things lined up for y'all. The first bit we're going to be talking about the new Tesla truck, or Truckla, as I've heard someone else call it. But and then the back half of this podcast we're going to be talking about camera phones and smartphones and kind of the world of photography, and Andrew's kind of got the expertise on that one. But just to do some quick introductions, back with us we have our lumberjack politician Levi, prime before you painter.
Hey yo.
Our everything pop culture and lore master Zach, all bets are off Gamble.
That's me.
Our resident social media and photography god Andrew, not the impeached President Johnson.
Hi.
And I'm just here for the memes. Tegan, no, I didn't play baseball pitcher. So yeah, I think we'll let Levi take it away here for the
All
first bit.
right. So, I wanted to talk about the Tesla Cybertruck just because of how freaking goofy it is, and like nobody saw it coming.
Is that its official name?
It's Cybertruck.
Cybertruck?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah,
I
that's
thought that was like an internet dubbed thing.
Like, everybody's just calling it the Cybertruck. No, that's it. And everybody's like making these memes of just polygons on the internet because that's like all it is.
You know what it reminds me of? You know the Pokemon that's like the polygon.
Oh, it's called Polygon.
Yeah,
Yes.
there's the polygon, and then it's like that mixed up with the master or the
Warthog.
Halo Warthog.
Yeah, the Warthog
Exactly.
from Halo.
It's like an exact combination.
But if you put a 50 cal machine gun in the back of that thing, you know how dope that would look? Holy crap.
Oh my gosh.
But with that, the Tesla Cybertruck, how crazy that thing is, it's supposed to go to like 60 in 2.6 seconds.
Wowzers.
Yeah.
What the heck?
It's basically a sports car that's like twice as long.
Beefed up.
And with a quarter of the shapes. So.
I was gonna say, I just imagine them. Can you imagine them like taking that thing into where they do like the aerodynamics testing, just having the air hit it and just like stop in the front of the car? Like, let's start from scratch.
No, apparently it's supposed to be pretty good, and there's other ideas for it. Because with trucks, like the truck bed apparently like pulls air into it, and that slows down trucks.
Oh, interesting.
And so they have a thing where it can just cover it up,
Right.
and just flatten it out, and so the air is supposed to just flow right off of it.
Is it
And-
like almost like a sunroof of like
Yeah.
esque
Yeah,
mechanism?
it like
awning.
opens and
Yeah.
closes.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah,
like an awning.
and like they're thinking about. I'm not sure if this is happening or if this was just speculation or if somebody, like this is another thing you can buy to add on to it. But they're thinking about doing solar panels for that part that goes up and
Interesting.
down.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah, so you can just charge it while you're driving. Or
It's not like
when
a
it's in-
lot, but like
Yeah,
if you're in a pickle,
but it's better than
you won't
nothing.
get you won't get stranded somewhere.
I honestly think that a lot of cars are gonna start going that way though with the solar. Like I know that was kind of like a sci-fi thing in the past, but they actually like with all the tax rebates and stuff that you can get now with having solar panels. Like Zach and I work at a place that solar is what they do, right? They're basically selling solar panels all the time. With the tax rebates that you can get for having an electric car as well as having solar panels, like I feel like that's going to become more and more of a thing in the future with how much they're pushing for that.
No, I agree. I think that's totally a thing. I mean, being more energy wise or being green is, I think that's a total trend right now, whether in homes or like with cars. And I mean, homes are getting solar panels, so there's no reason to think why cars are like the next step in that evolution of like solar power.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, like everything's gonna go that way, and I love it. But one of the things that I love about the Cybertruck specifically, because there's other competitors coming out now, and Ford even said like within the next few years they're gonna come out with their own electric truck. I was about to say Cybertruck, but just truck.
Everyone.
Everyone's
I
just
need
a
a
Cybertruck.
I need a truck, but make it cyber.
But like, if you saw a concept of it, I'd love Elon Musk because of the way he just does stuff.
Right.
Like, he doesn't give a crap, it seems like. Because if he released a concept of that, because everybody's been trashing on the way it looks, and like tried to get people's input like every other car company does, you know, they probably wouldn't have made it.
Yeah.
But just because he's throwing it out there, and like he's like, okay, this is it. Get yours today.
It's just so angular. And it's not appealing to the eye.
It's not at all, but people are gonna buy it anyways, and it's just gonna throw a wrench in the gears of what everybody else is making. They're like, oh, maybe we should like change our game a little bit.
We need more angles.
We need just squares. So Lego actually trolled Tesla with this. They just did like a Lego brick, and they put it on Lego wheels and had a light on the front.
That's really funny.
They just like took a picture and sent it to him on Twitter or something like that.
I freaking love it. No, I totally agree with you though. I think like the way that he like his production method really is just like, I have this cool idea, no one's gonna stop me until it hits production line. That like it's exactly how I want it to be, and no one can mess with it. And I think you're right. I think that's like changing the game a little bit, and it'll be fun to see what other people come out with as a result. So.
But does the Cybertruck have Falcon doors?
I don't think so.
No.
No, it doesn't.
A missed opportunity. It honestly does, like, to me, because I know that I think it might be the Model X that has the Falcon doors. It's like the SUV.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
But
That's
this thing like totally reminds me of like if someone took a DeLorean and made it into a truck.
No, that's what I was thinking.
And so
too.
I was thinking like, if this thing doesn't have, it honestly looks like a DeLorean, but like reverse, like if you like as far as like shape goes, because it like gets really
Right.
fat in the back, but then like narrows out. But like think of that for like the truck, because it's like really fat in the front and narrows out in the back. But
Yeah.
missed opportunity with the Falcon doors there.
I was actually, that's funny that you say that, because I was just thinking about the DeLorean too. Like a lot of people kind of thought the same thing. They thought like this is kind of like a weird, like futuristic looking car that they were going for, and it's become like a huge collector's item kind of a thing at this point. So I'm kind of interested to see like you were saying, like Ford is talking about coming out with their own kind of like truck smart vehicle in the future. I'm interested to see if this is going to become like a trend, or if it's just going to be like a one-time thing that we're always going to kind of laugh at, and it's going to be like a collector's
Remember the
item in
Cybertruck?
future,
Kickstarts that trend of like, or like what, because in like old sci-fi you would get depictions of like flying cars that are just like super sleek and angular and whatnot. Maybe this is what kickstarts that. Maybe this
brings
is
it all to life.
Yeah,
I hope so. If you ever watch Unbox Therapy, he also has a podcast. I think it's just called Lou Later or something, or not a podcast. Maybe it's just he just does video clips on YouTube.
About,
Yeah, he's pretty funny. Anyways, he was talking just about how goofy that truck is gonna look like next to all the other cars, because he's like, just take a picture of it like by itself. He's like, looks pretty cool, it's pretty sweet, you know, add some fog in there, it looks like it's the future. and then you put it next to like the average sedan that's out there, and you're like, what the F is that thing doing out on the road?
right? Oh yeah, that's.
I saw a concept image for a Volkswagen truck that's supposed to be coming out in the next 2-3 years.
Like a bug Volkswagen truck?
Think of like
Just an oval.
It's like the exact opposite of this thing. It's like, imagine like a Volkswagen bus, but with like they took the the back half of it, and it's just like a truck bed. It's like super round versus like this Cybertruck, which has all the angles.
Jeez.
I think what they did with the Cybertruck was a really good idea, though. I don't know if you guys ever watch like Marquez Brownlee on YouTube.
Yeah, every once in a while.
He actually had like a really good opinion on this whole thing, and I think it was such a smart move, because Elon Musk is creating a truck that is entering a market that is super, super saturated with very loyal customers. Like, people who are truck guys are truck guys. Like, they will die in that machine, and like if they need to replace it, they will just buy the next year's, you know, Ford F-150 or whatever they're loyal to. So being able to, like, if the Cybertruck looked like any other truck, it would matter so much less, and there would not be like buzz about it. So the press is great, and then I mean, sure, it looks really ugly.
But it's totally worked out in his benefit.
Oh, absolutely, because trucks look exactly the same. The only way you can distinguish trucks from other trucks is by reading what it is.
Right.
But this one, you spot it and it sticks out immediately. And they also, well, I don't know if it's, I'm pretty sure they're going to be doing this, but they're going to release it in matte black instead of just the raw metal. So that would also look pretty cool too.
That's a Batmobile.
I was gonna say that's gonna be exactly
So
like
yeah,
the Batmobile
yeah,
that
right.
is. Christian Nolan Batmobile, right?
Dude,
there.
and then that 50 caliber machine gun on top.
But does a motorcycle deploy out the front?
Oh,
They
speaking
have
of
the
that, they have,
ATV.
yeah.
Oh, that's
they
It's
right.
in the back. Batman just pops off.
They
See
thought
him
of
come
everything.
down the street the other way. Holy freak, it's Batman.
Elon Musk is sitting there watching the original Christian Nolan Batman trilogy, Dark Knight trilogy. He's like, all right, make that, but Tesla.
How can we put less shapes into that?
We can't afford all the angles. Just take them out.
Oh,
Too
man,
expensive.
That's really funny.
That's funny.
No, but like speaking of YouTubers, like you're talking about, there's actually a woman that made her own like Tesla
Like
truck.
Simone
right.
Gertz.
Yeah,
or
Simone
something?
Gertz. Yeah, Gertz, something
I
like
don't
that.
Some
But yeah, like I think it's funny that I don't know if Elon Musk had any kind of view into that beforehand. She's kind of famous on YouTube, but I think that's like funny that
I wouldn't doubt it if
From
he
her
did. He
concept,
seems to
yeah.
like keep up with
Oh,
stuff.
he's
yeah,
very-
it's
yeah.
true.
He'll like
He's pretty-
be on YouTubers' channels
Yeah,
all the time.
And he'll respond to people on Twitter and stuff all the time.
Mhm.
And like half the stuff he says is freaking hilarious.
Yeah, no, he's
Oh
way
my
funny.
gosh.
I watched his podcast on Jim Rogan. That was
Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, Joe Rogan. That was way
It's
funny.
great. That has to be the birth of one of the greatest memes of all time. Of just
Smoke.
Elon Musk smoking weed, just holding it there, and then like so many of them did the Joker, like, you want to know how I got these scars? Like, I don't know.
Oh yeah, it's so funny.
Speaking of Twitter, though, did any of you see like the release like of the Cybertruck, like what their like demonstrations and all that?
I saw. Yeah, are you going to the windows?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
windows.
I saw
So
that part.
okay, so like the whole thing, he made it a big deal that this was going to be like a tank, and so he like talked about how strong the metal was and also the glass. So like in the demonstration, they have like a normal car door, and then the guy like smashes it with a sledgehammer, and like you can totally hear it, like it's like dented, like, you know. And then they do that to the Cybertruck, nothing. And then they like start to show the glass because it's supposed to be like basically bulletproof is kind of like what they're going for.
Wow.
So they drop a like pure metal ball on normal glass, like obviously shatters it, and then they do it on their glass and it just bounces off. So it's like really cool. And then he's like he like says to one of the guys, he's like, hey, okay, so like take this ball and throw it out the window now, like of the actual vehicle. And then he does, and it shatters it. Like it doesn't go through, but like totally shattered, like not the same thing. So he was like, oh shoot, he's like, why don't you try the back one? Same thing. So yeah, so it's really awkward. And like if you watch the event, it's like just quiet and it's like and he's just kind of like folding his arms, kind of like
Back to R&D.
So anyways, so he hops on Twitter and he kind of talks about that, and someone tweeted at him and said, hey, I know why it broke. And because they did have a video before, like literally like minutes before the event, where they tried it on the vehicle and it was fine. What happened was the impact from the sledgehammer on the door happened first, and so that like compromised the glass basically.
Oh,
So that's what like
Interesting.
broke it.
Oh, okay.
So that leads you to think like, oh, okay, you know, that makes sense. That's forgiving. But then if someone still wants to break into your car, all they have to do now is bang the door really hard. So it's kind of like,
they just have to hit it twice
yeah.
instead of once.
Thieves are like, oh man, all that extra work.
Once they're like, I guess I can't get in.
This is impenetrable.
There's a nice Honda over there.
But anyways, it was
that's
cool
funny.
because, I mean, regardless of that, you know, not quite working out, it's cool that he is so innovative and so driven to make it the perfect thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like in his Twitter, like he even responded, or no, sorry, in the actual live event, he said, well, there's room for improvement. And like he took it very maturely and like seriously, and he's like, okay, well, we'll just fix it. You know?
Yeah.
And he didn't let it just stop him in his tracks or make a big stink out of it. But
he's a very good salesman as well. So he's got a good sense for how to recover in those scenarios as well. That's cool.
I love the way he does these things because like he just lays it all out there, you know?
Right.
Like obviously they didn't try that before they went out. But you know, he's just rolling with the punches, so you know, he's just going with it. So you got to respect him for that, for sure.
Right. Well, I think with the lull in the conversation, it's time to head over to Andrew's topic. So why don't you go ahead and get us started on that?
So recently there was a smartphone put out by Xiaomi. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but they came out with this phone that has a 108 megapixel sensor on it.
Whoa.
Which is like nuts. To kind of like benchmark what that even means to those of you who aren't into photography or anything. Your entry level DSLR will have about 18. A normal typical smartphone like an iPhone or actually any of them, 12 is the average. And then high-end cameras and medium format cameras range between 46 to 56, probably around there. This is 108 in a smartphone.
That's wild. I was actually like in preparation for this. I went and looked at how much the Google Pixel 2 was because like when it came out, it was like awesome. You know, like I mean, and it's only 12 megapixels. Like like you said, that's like an average smartphone now. But like that's insane that. Like I don't even I don't really understand a ton about photography, but as far as like benchmarks go, yeah, definitely
break that down on what megapixels mean to people, 'cause some people might not understand what a megapixel is and what that defines as far as your photos go.
Right. Okay. So most people know what pixels are. It's just like a dot on a screen, basically, and a megapixel is just a count of how many like pixels are in a certain range, basically. So what it kind of breaks down to is the quality. So it's kind of like how much information is in one photo. So for example, 12 is actually decent, especially for phones. Technically, phones could go further than that, but they found that, you know, it doesn't make like a huge difference if they don't. So my camera that I have, for those of you who don't know, I am a professional videographer and photographer. The camera that I use has a 42 megapixel sensor, which is ridiculous. Like most high-end professional cameras are around 24, so it's basically double that. And it is so like clear that if I take a photo of someone from like a good distance away, I can zoom in and see the peach fuzz on their face. So
you're looking at their pores.
Yeah, like so much detail basically. So I digress, but to explain that, like it kind of gives you more wiggle room for cropping in. Like 42 is perfectly enough for billboards and you would have no problem. So just to kind of like benchmark all of that together, like 108 on a phone just is absurd. I mean, even on a camera, that's absurd. Do you know how much those phones are going for? Like, I don't know. I'm not sure.
Like, have they been released yet?
They're like in production. It's called the Xiaomi Note 10, I believe.
Okay.
I'm not sure what that runs for.
Xiaomi Note 10.
Maybe we can edit that part out and just like be like, it costs this much. Should we do that?
No.
Okay, fine.
The people will just look it up when they see it.
Xiaomi Note 10.
Tegan's looking up the price.
I'm looking it up right now.
So is it available right now, or they just say we have this phone and we're gonna?
I mean, it exists. I've seen test photos from it. Like, I mean, of people's videos, but like, it's in
is
circulation.
It available to the public?
Yeah.
No. Okay.
Spelled XIA.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, that's it. So it looks like it's $600.
Wow,
that's cheaper than an
iPhone.
No,
that's incredible. Actually,
and that was iPhone's big thing, right? That they have like three cameras.
that was Pixel's Google Pixel's big thing for a hot second there too was, you know, like
The cameras.
Is this a Chinese company or?
This thing has 4 cameras on it though.
It has 5 actually.
Oh my
It has
God.
5 cameras on it.
Is that 4 on the back and then the front facing?
No, there's
just
like
5
5
on
on
the
the back. Yeah. So
Oh.
so one of them is the 108 megapixel sensor camera, and the others are the
Holy
various angles,
cow.
etc.
Yeah.
But
if you aren't looking at a picture of this thing, you ought to. The thing is one big black bar on like the top half of the phone that's just cameras. Oh, that's wild. It's so interesting, and I know we had talked about this before, but it's kind of gonna change the way people do photography now, right? I mean, like just kind of changing up the game in general. If anyone's gonna have that much sensitivity on a sensor that they're using from their phone.
oh yeah, for sure. And like, I mean, there were like I've seen a bunch of examples of those photos, and they kind of suffer around the edges. So the center is where you really like can see the difference, and it's very very obvious. But I mean, that's pretty cool that they were able to do that.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, so it kind of brings up the discussion, and like if you guys want to talk about this too, if phones will replace cameras, because I mean phones are getting better and better and better.
And everyone has one in their pocket.
Exactly, and
So,
it's the most portable camera.
yeah.
Like I've always thought that, like as far as like camera quality goes in mobile devices, I think Apple like has it going for themselves. I mean, I haven't played around with like a Google Pixel device, or so I can't really like attest to those cameras on there, but I'm told that they are excuse me, very high quality and rival the iPhone. But like I've always said, like imagine if Apple dedicated resources to it, like an actual like DSLR camera,
Yeah.
Ooh, that'd be cool.
and just like imagine the type of like the photo quality you can get out of something like that.
You can imagine though, iPhone's going to have something similar to this in not too much time. I mean, the way things are going, like it's...
Do you know what for the iPhone 11 Pro that's the like the one with the 3 cameras, right?
Yeah, so the Pro and the Pro Max have the 3.
Yeah. Do you know what? Because I know it has like 3 separate.
Oh, like the focal lengths?
Yeah. Do you know what their highest megapixel is on those cameras?
Oh.
Is it still like max at 12?
Yeah, so it's basically all at 12. What's interesting though is when you go to the ultra wide, you actually lose a little bit of quality. So I don't know if that's because of the megapixels or like some kind of weird software thing. But yeah, the max is 12 for those guys.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's way interesting. Yeah.
So, if I don't know, like with that argument of, or not argument, just that concept of maybe phones taking over cameras in general, like I don't know, I kind of feel like that there will always be cameras that are one step ahead of the game, you know, and just are a little bit better, where people are like, sorry, you're still not a professional unless you have one of these cameras. You can't take pictures from your phone, kind of thing, you know?
Right.
Well, like aperture is a big thing too, right? I mean, these aren't going to have a very long length from the sensor to the actual lens. So what does that
I mean,
mean for...
I think I'll have to fact check myself on this, but I believe most of them are a 1.8, which is like really good, by the way. Sorry. So that's like a very low aperture for such a small camera. But personally, I think that cameras will always exist. I think smartphones will always get closer, but they will never replace cameras, because cameras are supposed to be one thing and they do it really well. As opposed to a phone is your everything that also happens to take photos, but pretty well.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, just cameras are dedicated to taking photo and video, whereas like phones are dedicated to be media devices that also happen to take photos. And I think companies that make cameras will always invest more R&D into making the cameras better, and I think we'll always get a better camera. And then like I think phone companies will kind of just like take the technology that's been engineered by these camera companies, and they might honestly be the same company in some cases, and just like take that and like retrograde it and just like find a way to make it fit into a smartphone. So
yeah, I think kind of like what you're saying, like our phones are kind of becoming everything that you can't do from a bigger device item. So like, I mean, we haven't replaced computers yet with phones. Like, you still have your home desktop for the most part, you know. Gaming consoles, we still have our gaming consoles. Like, mobile phones can't really compete with that yet either. So I think there's still plenty of things that, you know, like, we can use phones for. But yeah, as far as replacing things go, I think it's hard to say that the phone is gonna overcome any single item that you can get a lot better quality on at your home when you're at home. So
I think another thing too is, like, it's actually awesome what phones are able to do. Like, it's kind of crazy. Like, portrait mode, when that was a thing, that was absurd. Yeah. Like, for those of you who don't know how that works, there are two cameras that work hand in hand. One camera analyzes the background and one camera analyzes the foreground, so it can, like, try to blur it out and, like, emulate a lens. But I don't think it will ever be as good because, and here's why. It's happening in software. It's not actually happening optically. Right. And that's what lenses do. Yeah. Lenses are actually creating, like, an actual blur that is in the real, it's reacting to the real world, as opposed to a software that's analyzing things and choosing to replicate blur, right? So
yeah, it's kind of like the analog argument. It's almost like film versus, like, digital in a small way. It's kind of that same thing, because it's we're just taking it a step further, and now we're, like, digitizing the image even more than we have in the past. So I think that's kind of interesting too, to see how it continues to go that way, and who in the future is going to be the hipsters that go back and are using the cameras that actually still use the focal lengths, you know, instead of just like the software that's updated into whatever camera they're using. So I think that's kind of an interesting.
Do you use your phone as a GoPro? I go back to the GoPro Hero 6.
The hipsters of the future.
Because, like, I mean, like, Polaroid, that was like normal, and now Polaroids now are like the cool hipster thing. So
that's true.
What if phones were like the way people shop, and then if you wanted to be retro and hipster and look cool, you had an actual physical camera?
I still love Polaroids until cameras can print out of the butt. Then, you know, Polaroid's gonna take it for me.
Well, Levi, let me know when your phone prints out of the butt, and then we'll have another discussion. Anyway.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us on this episode of Zalt of the Earth. And this is Levi,
Andrew,
Zach,
and Tegan
signing off.
Bye.
We'll see you next time.